we have to do this. I mean, we have to start. And I don't know if anybody else, I'm not without paying a whole lot of attention, Richard, to the other podcasts that are out there speaking the English language Calcio.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but we're leading with Bologna.
Look at that. Yeah.
We're leading with Bologna this week. And yes, Atalanta played Inter. And yes, Juventus shithouse Fiorentina. We're going to get to all that. But Bologna, boys and girls, are 10 matches unbeaten. They opened that season with that 2-0 loss to Milan. And here they are, 6th in Serie A. I got dirty looks. I got laughed at. I got poked and prodded by everybody out there in Calcio Twitter for saying that Bologna were going to finish 8th, and even made the comment that it wouldn't shock me that they would finish in the European places. And Thiago Motta is making me look great. I'm sorry, I'm bragging about this one. I'm actually kind of getting mad that I only picked them 8th. I still think they're probably going to end up around there. They'll probably get to a point this season where they're figured out. But if you're a Bologna supporter right now, you are just loving life. A 1-0 win here over Lazio, a goal by Lewis Ferguson, Skorupski coming through and making some saves. Fine performance from him. The restructuring of this team seems to take effect. And if Thiago Motta is manager of the first best, I think Thiago Motta wins manager of the season through the first 11 match weeks because of this 10-match unbeaten run, and because he's taking Riccardo Calafiori, who was used as a wingback at Roma, a fullback at other places, and he is deputizing at center back next to Boikema, and it is working.
Yeah,
it is working. I mean, there's just so many positives to say about this Bologna team. I think that if I'm not mistaken, Orsolini had a nice free kick as well in this game where he could have, I think he forced a save. If my memory serves me right, from Providel. So, but man, let's talk about this, Richard, because Bologna, and it's not like they're doing this like against 10 teams in the bottom half. There's a draw with Napoli in there. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe, let me go through this a little bit further. There's a draw at Inter. They went and drew them. They drew Sassuolo, who can always be a tricky team to play against. They drew against Monza. They drew against Napoli. They have pulled some results, and I think they beat Juve, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So, I mean, this deserves our attention right now. I mean, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We caught it before everybody else did. We said, hey, Bologna's unbeaten 8 matches. We better pay attention to this a little bit.
Yeah, both you and I, you picked them at 8th, I picked them 9th. I thought we both thought that this team was due for success. We both think highly of Thiago Motta. He's had some difficult stints to start his managerial career. However, they've been getting the job done. Eric says Sassuolo, it's their derby. Yeah, that's right. This team has just been put together, kind of mixed mash, right? We know that obviously some of the guys like Orsolini and Posch and Abish, or some of these guys, and Likojanis, the guys we know about, Skorupski, but you throw some of the guys like Salamaker. I mean, Xerxes, Freuler got into the mix. Obviously, Ferguson with the emergence of him. You mentioned the two mixed matched center backs there. This team seems to work together, and you got to give credit to, because it's not just like they're shithousing their way and playing, parking the bus and letting everybody, just trying to get a goal here and there. They're playing actually really, really good football. And I think that game against Juventus, they look fantastic against Juventus, and they've looked fantastic in numerous amount of games. They can play different styles, and this one is a little bit of mix of defensive and attacking style football. So it's interesting. Dominic asked, how is their depth and how does this bench look for continuing success in May? And we already know they're starting 11, right? But you look at their bench, Bonifazzi, Christensen, Corazza, Lugami. Moro's a guy who's been around the block, who's got some experience, right? And Van Hooijdonk. So they got some decent players. They'll need to get some more pitch time, I think, if they want to, to see how if they're going to hold up, because injuries are bound to happen. It just does, right? But I think this team is built for success. And the players who for all these years, we expected them to kind of play to their potential or even close to it. And they hadn't, under Mihailovic and all the other managers, they finally started doing it under Thiago Motta. And Thiago Motta has found his way to, get these guys to play pressing football when they need to. They play beautiful one-touch passing when they have to. They play defensive when they need to. they're very formidable, and they're very they're like almost like a chameleon of sorts, because they can adapt to whatever they need to, and it shows in the result they've had the first 10, 11 weeks of the season. So they've been fantastic to watch, honestly.
Well, the depth. Just to follow up on the depth question, I have concerns should Xerxes ever go down, and I'd have concerns if Skorupski would ever go down. Those two positions, I think, lack depth. They're going to want to pay attention to that come January and try to figure out how to address that. I think the midfield, there's enough to interchange things, and defender enough to interchange things. And let's remember, they're only in two competitions. They're in Serie A and they're in Coppa Italia, so they're not chasing Europe. They're not playing every 3 days with the regularity that some of these other teams are playing with. So, they have that advantage for themselves. I would say that the one guy that we had some fun with this a few weeks ago, but Giovanni Fabian, I want him to play. Get him out there. Even if it's for about 5 minutes, get this kid out here. The kid, he looks younger than my son.
We talked about it a couple weeks ago. We're
if you look at his headshot, just for that reason, I want to see him. And I was like, that dude. If you just look at his picture, look up Giovanni Fabian, and that's with two B's. He looks like he's 8. Like literally. That looks like the picture was taken from his boyhood.
I'll share the screen right here. It's amazing. There, on screen right there. So he looks young.
Now there he looks a little older. Like there he looks like he's smiling because he's about to ask his mom he's 16 and he's about to ask his mom for the keys to the car, and she said no, even though the keys are in his back pocket anyway. That's that smile. I know what that smile is.
He's already got a goal this year. He's got 8 last year with Regina. He's someone to want to keep an eye for, and I think you're right, because I think if this team wants to succeed in the long run, to Dominic's point, we need to see some guys on the bench get more pitch time and get acclimated to the speed of Serie A and the tactical awareness of Serie A. And so if they want to have success, they need to bring on some of these guys on the bench a little bit more. And I get it. They're starting 11, they're starting 15 are doing really well, but get every guys in the mix, and and Coppa Italia, if they can afford to do some rotation, I think it'll help them in the long run.
Well, I think you got rotation there with Posh with Di Silvestri, who can deputize on the right. Yep. The center backs, it's right now it's Boykema and Calafiori. Bonifazi can step in, and Lukumi when he gets healthy. I think that Sumwaro is a guy they're going to have to. I'd say they got to move him. The guy's a red card waiting to happen whenever he's out on the pitch. Yep. I've always felt that way about him. And then you got Ligo Giannis, who can play on the left-hand side. And I think that Calafiori can deputize there. He was used on the left at Roma in some cup matches and things like that. So they've got some coverage there. And then in the midfield, you're primarily looking at, you got Salamakers, Carlson, and Doi. Orsolini is kind of classified as a forward, even though he plays in a wide area. El Azuzi comes into this conversation. I think Moro is more of a winger as well. So there's plenty of depth there. Ferguson in the 10 role has been a revelation for them. Scored in the win here against Lazio. Abisher can play deep. Freuler can play deep. A lot to like about this team. And and we've always been saying this about the collection of talent at Bologna. And we had to walk on eggshells when we talked about it with Sinisa Mihailovic there and everything that he was going through. But we had to call it the way we see it. They were underachieving. Yep. I said relative to the talent that they had. And now that Thiago Motta's come in place, he's cleaned this up a little bit. And they're a threat to anybody they play going forward.
It's the parallels between them and Fiorentina are remarkable, really, because before Vincenzo Italiano, got the same thing with them. They were very massively underachieving, had this laden, talent-laden team for years, and they just been struggling in the bottom half of the table. And you're like, the manager needs to come in here and kind of right this ship. And Vincenzo Italiano did that for Fiorentina, and now Thiago Motta has done that for Bologna. And what you're going to see is a lot of teams are going to start coming for Thiago Motta now. Hopefully he stays in Serie A, because you want to see the success, keep improving. But what he's done, what Vincenzo Italiano have done, both these gentlemen, it's remarkable, really. And I think, this game against Lazio for Bologna, it wasn't like Lazio rolled over for them. Lazio came at them with Castellano hit the post a couple of times. Pedro, Felipe Anderson, the guys were involved. Luis Roberto was all over the place, but they held their own. That's the thing. They teams that are good possession, like Lazio and other teams like that, they let them have the ball. But when it gets down back into their box, that's where they close up shop. And then they got Skorupski. If things fall through, Skorupski has been a solid goalkeeper in Serie A for many, many years now. And so it's good to see that he's finally got a good team in front of him that he can actually showcase his skills and not have to face 50 shots a game like he did in the past. So yeah, it's just kudos to what Thiago Motta seems to game plan perfectly for every team they play against, no matter if it's a ball possession team or a team that plays on the counter.
And let's see if they can let's see if they can carry this momentum here. They travel to Fiorentina next. That is on Sunday, and I'll tell you what. Fiorentina if you want to get them after they've had to play in Europe. So
yeah, 100%.
So there's definitely opportunity. And then after that, we're back to another FIFA break, and then they host Torino. So there's going to be a couple of games where they're going to be tested to see if they can carry it and get to 11 and even 12. Yep. But exciting to see.